Bonjour à toutes et à tous et bienvenue sur AC 360, votre émission hebdomadaire où nous parlons de tout ce qui concerne le continent africain et sa diaspora. Aujourd'hui, j'ai pour invité Henry Ukazu, qui nous vient du Nigeria mais qui habite ici à New York et qui a beaucoup de choses à partager avec nous, notamment sur le mentorship et la connaissance de soi. Henry Ukazu, welcome.
Thank you so much.
How are you doing today?
I'm all right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.
The precious mine.
How is your day going?
Pretty much blissful.
Mhm.
I didn't have a hard time locating here. It was pretty much good. I'm having a hard time. So far, so good.
So far, so good?
Yes, correct.
All right. So you are Nigerian,
Correct.
but now you reside in New York.
Correct.
How is life in Nigeria? How was your upbringing? What made you move to the United States? Like, what happened?
Right. So I was born and brought up in Nigeria. I pretty much had my whole school from my elementary school to my law school in Nigeria. It was pretty much interesting, but challenging. Challenging in the sense that we never had people to really groom us on the right path to life. We have to figure out your paths, and that was a new thing for me, kind of a culture shock when I came to the U.S. So it was fun because life was pretty much interesting in Nigeria. We have family and friends around you. So yeah, we never had those kind of training that they can really support you, that can bring you out very, very well. So upon my college, my late dad told me, I mean my siblings, he wanted to have a broader vision about life. So he had to bring us to the US. So it was like a new experience for me to see life from a holistic perspective as opposed to the vantage points I've been experiencing. So coming out to the US, I think was a new beginning for me, and I saw life from a different perspective. So right now, I think I'm pretty much on a good platform to speak about Nigeria and Africa and the global world at large.
Okay. So your dad came to the U.S. because he had a broader vision and wanted a better future for you and your siblings.
Correct.
Okay. And when you came to the U.S., what city did you come to? Was it New York directly, or did you go to another city?
I've been in New York for pretty much all my life since I came to the
Wow.
US, but I do travel a lot. Okay, but I'm pretty much been in New York City.
Okay. Okay. And what borough?
I've been in Bronx, and I've been in Queens, and right now I'm in Westchester County.
Okay. Nice. So you are an author, international lawyer, life coach, public speaker, and youth advocate. So regarding your international lawyer side, how did you get into it? Was it here in New York? Was it in Nigeria? And what made you go through law?
Right. So I can remember very much when I was much younger, upon my college in Nigeria, I had a conviction that I think I want to be an advocate, a human advocate. So I was inspired watching the news when I was in Nigeria. So at a point in time, I made a comment with my God that if I have an opportunity of getting admission to read law, I'm going to be the father, the fatherless, the motherless, and the defender of the defenseless. That was what I had in mind. And I didn't get the law degree when I wanted it, but because of my drive and my passion, God and the universe has a way of working out things for people. So I like got that opportunity in a different school. So when I went to read law, I did pretty much well during my days in college. So I went to law school in Nigeria, got admission to the bar. So when I came to the US, and I decided again I want to go into law school again to advance my degree. So I went to New York Law School. Okay, and I finished the program, got a scholarship, and I decided, okay, what will I do with the legal profession? So I thought about it. Okay, being you're from Nigeria and in the US, do you think it's one way to create your pathway to life? So during the process of time, that was when my self-discovery process really came in because I asked myself, what do you want to do with your life? What impact do you want to make with your life? Because I went to New York Law School to study taxation law, which is not something I really liked, but because my late dad inspired me, because we had a very humble background. So then that was the financial meltdown in the country in 2009, around that time. So he said, if you study any other course, you might not have a job because the country was messed up at that point in time. And taxation was not for me. I never liked it. I hate numbers with passion. I'm very big on energy law and human rights law. I had other interests in life. But after much consultation, I had to settle for taxation law. Trust me, I was a little bit depressed. At the point in time, suicidal thoughts was coming to me because I couldn't get the numbers correctly in taxation law. So upon graduation, getting a job was hard for me. I had to settle down to read, to work as a security officer. It was during the process time I started to write a book about life experiences. And I was fortunate to get a job as a case manager. That was what informed me that this is my calling. Tax law was not for me. So I began to serve the communities and I began to have interest in those field of life. So I left that legal profession, even though I still have the legal background in me because I work for the government right now, but then I still have a stronger interest in helping people discover who they are because that is the essence of life as opposed to being money conscious.
So, your dad wanted you in taxation law.
Correct.
You didn't want to,
No.
and that made you go through depression. You even had suicidal thoughts. But through that path, you discovered your path, which is actually to help people and to serve communities.
Correct.
So thanks to that, you've actually found your purpose, we can say, because now you're writing books and you're a public speaker and you're also a life coach. And that all came through that taxation law path that you didn't want to go to initially, but you went through, and then now you became like whoever you are now.
Correct.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
So, speaking about the life coach path that you're taking right now, I've always had that question about life coaches because it's so hard to master life and to master people at the same time. Because if you are a life coach, that means that you have a broad knowledge of life and a broad knowledge of people that you're coaching. How do you become a life coach, and what is a life coach to you?
All right, so I'm going to start by saying we have 5 kinds of knowledge. We have the revealed knowledge, that is basically what the Bible, because inspiration. We have the rational knowledge. We have the empirical knowledge. We have the intuitive knowledge, and we have the authoritative knowledge.
Can you repeat them? The
We have the 5 kinds of knowledge:
5 kinds of knowledge:
revealed knowledge,
revealed knowledge,
rational knowledge,
rational knowledge,
empirical knowledge, empirical,
empirical knowledge,
authoritative knowledge,
authoritative knowledge,
and intuitive knowledge.
intuitive knowledge.
Correct.
Okay.
So mine falls under the intuition. Now, for those who have authority, which is the area I think you're coming from, those who have expertise in a particular field of study, like law, medicine, they are experts. When they speak, you gotta listen.
So it's more rational with them.
Um,
They're more in the rational side, but you're more in the intuitive.
yes, I'm more in the intuitive side
Okay.
of it because mine comes out spontaneously, right? So I didn't have a formal, like formal kind of classroom training on this. What I had was more of informal training. But over time, I've come to discover if you know who you are, sometimes in life you excel more than those who have that
Expertise.
expertise in that field.
Okay.
And that is what makes me so unique. For example, as an author, most times people read my book, they can connect more with my book as opposed to those who are acclaimed professors. Because my book is very practically oriented and the writing skills is kind of intuitive and very, very relative. So over time, I've read books a lot from my high school, college, until now I read voraciously. So I began this when I was working as a case manager. And I was dealing with a lot of people with those who are from low class communities. In the communities, I see hungry people who don't know their path, they were into drug. They were going through a lot, mentally unstable people, who have at risk people, individuals, youth, even parents. It's a lot of people going through stress in life. So I asked myself, how can I assist these people? That was the turning point for me. So when I discovered that I have what it takes to help them, because when I speak to them, they feel relieved. In fact, they tell me that they have counselors, they have therapists, but each time I speak to them, they feel a certain relief in their body and mentally. So over time, I discovered that I have that unique gift of speaking. I have that unique gift of counseling. And I have that charisma. Whenever I engage people, they tend to feel much better. So it was at that point in time I decided I'm going to serve the community. So I started working on it, started reading books, started attending conferences, seminars, workshops, and symposiums. And over time, I gained a lot of experiences. So right now, I tell people on mindset training, I do training on self-discovery, I do training on mentorship, on coaching, and then training on public speaking. So over time, I discovered that this part of training is all under the human capacity development because a lot of people don't know who they are. And I focus more on self-discovery because there was a research that was done by Forbes. According to Forbes, only 15% of the world are self-aware. And one begins to wonder, what about the remaining 85%?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they are just existing as supposed to be living. We are not meant to exist. We are meant to fulfill life. Because I strongly believe, given every opportunity, everybody is a potential achiever because we don't have dull brains, only brains undeveloped. So I took it upon myself to help people to unleash their potentials. And that's what I do in my capacity as a life coach. Depending on what you're going through in life, it doesn't matter if it's relationship, if it's academical, if it's religion, whatever it is. If you come to me, because in my company, right, we have to be vulnerable to share. And then you have to be vulnerable to share. Because everyone is going through what I call a secret frustration. So if I know the pinpoint of what you're going through, I think I'll be better poised to assist you. So for me, human capacity development, I think, is something that is lacking not only in Africa, but globally.
Mm-hmm. And you've talked about self-discovery, you've talked about knowing who you are, and you've talked about, I mean, the life coach came again. How do you know who you are, and how do you discover yourself when life is a continuous um, path of experiences? You keep experiencing, you never stop learning in life. So, how do you know specifically who you are?
Right. So there's a quote by Oscar Wilde. Oscar Wilde said, "Be yourself because everyone is taken."
Okay.
Now, there's another quote again. I'm not remember the name of the author, who says, "The illiterate of the 21st century is a person who does not know how to." The illiterate of the 21st century is a person who does not know how to speak or write. Now, when it comes to the area of describing who you are, there are a lot of things that you could do to know who you are. For instance, somebody can see you and say, "Oh, you're a great singer." Probably you have an opportunity to sing in a church or in a gathering. That can be a self-discovery process for you. Even though you don't know about it, somebody can spot you up. There are things that comes to you intuitively or innate ability that no one can do it much better than you. For instance, I tell people, if you wake up in the morning and start singing, you're a singer. If you wake up in the morning and start writing, you're a writer. So there are things that you can do effortlessly. And this is how I put it when I meet people. What is that thing that you can do that if somebody should wake you from the sleep, you will not think twice about it, and then you will go there and you will deliver? You will not feel stressed about it. That is a self-discovery moment for you. I also tell people, when you're in a community, look at the challenges, the problems they're facing. What can you do to assist them in solving that process? So each and every one of us have capacities, have potentials, have gifts, have talents that we came up into this world. But it's quite unfortunately, some people don't know how to utilize it. And that is why if you go to the graveyard, it's called the richest reservoir on planet Earth. Why? Because a lot of talents are being deposited in the graveyard. Because people have gifts, people have talents that they have not been able to utilize. So to discover who you are, you have to go to your creator. That's one thing I believe in. Faith to me is one of the big components. You have to ask your creator, who am I? And how does that play out? I tell people this. If you want to know how Facebook works, you have to ask Mark Zuckerberg. If you want to know how Microsoft works, you have to ask Bill Gates. He's the founder. So if you want to know how you work, you have to ask your creator. So he made you. So self-discovery is a lifelong process. You don't just discover yourself overnight. It's a continuous process.
Mm-hmm.
The way you evolve, you got to then you will experience some certain challenges, but you will know what works for you and what does not work for you. And I give you a clear case example. For me, I knew taxation law was not for me
Mm-hmm.
from the onset go. I struggled to be major. But when I write articles, when I speak, when I mentor, I do it with ease. And I know this is for me.
The issue with for me is that when we talk about knowing who we are, because to know you have to fully know. You can't just know partially. If I know a part of myself, that doesn't mean that I know myself wholly, because there's so many parts of myself that I don't know about. So when you say, for example, that for you to know yourself, you have to discover the thing that you love doing without forcing, that comes naturally to you. What about other stuff that we haven't discovered yet, but are still within ourselves? How can I say that, for example, I love talking? So I know myself because I'm a speaker, for example. There's so many other aspects in my personality or within myself that I don't know about that's still there for me to say that I know myself. How do you make sure that you fully know yourself and not just some aspect of oneself?
Great. So this is where the learning experiences comes in. I like to be practical with myself, and I think that makes it more relatable. I didn't believe I could write. One day I was on Facebook and one of my mentors saw one of my articles titled "The Little Things of Life," and she said to me, "You're a smart young man. Have you thought about writing a book?" I said, "Yeah, but not really." She said, like, "Give it a trial." That same night, I went to my work, brought my computer, and started writing topics. And that was how my writing started. Now, today, I'm a prolific author that people read globally on a weekly basis. Why do I say this? Each and every one of us have an innate ability in us, potentials, but we don't hone it. That's why I said if you go to the graveyard, you see a lot of potentials that's buried in there. Nobody knows you more than you know yourself. If the whole world is telling you you can succeed and you know you cannot succeed, you will fail. But if the whole world is telling you you can succeed and you know if the world is telling you you can do something and you know you cannot do it, you will fail. If the world is telling you you cannot do it and you know you can do it, you will succeed because he that's in you is greater and stronger than he that's in the world. So as you mature and you grow to life, you will know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. So for example, now I know I'm very good in helping people, in mentoring people, in coaching people. I'm very good at that. But if you put me in an environment where tell me to sing or or to solve some numbers, I may have a challenge. So for me, the journey of knowing the other part of you is an experience that you have to try. If you don't try, you're not gonna know. So it's not a one size fits all. The journey of self discovery, which I think you rightly put together, is a learning experiences. The Henry of today might not be the Henry of tomorrow or in 5 years' time. I may delve into politics because I love politics with passion, but I strongly believe you have to groom yourself and have expertise for the world to know you in one area before you go back to the next stage. So everyone is a political animal. Everyone is a social animal. So it's a lifelong process that you cannot fully understand. But as you take the risk and you try to develop yourself, you will see much more to it. And the way I say this is like I'm like Google. When you click me, I open. So I think every human being ought to work in that same space. You have to give yourself that try because if you don't try, sometimes you never can tell the opportunities that will be for you.
So, as a life coach, since it's a lifelong process, you don't just tell people, "Oh, this is what you have to do to succeed in life," but you just put them in a certain path, the path that whatever comes naturally to them, as you've said, and you put them in that, and you just let life unfold for them and them discover by themselves.
So if you come to my sessions, I have 10 questions I ask you. I'll give you the paper.
10 questions that
10
you ask.
questions, yes.
Okay.
All right.
What are those
So,
questions?
for example, I'm going to ask you that if I give you $10 million and tell you, no, if I ask you now, I said to you, if you are told don't work again in your life, what will you do with your time?
Okay.
Something just be free as air. What will you do? So, and I'll tell you, be vulnerable in your answer. Just be free as air. Don't think too much. If I'm told, don't work again in your life, what will you do with your life? That question is structured to know one thing about you, what makes you happy. Now, I have another session I do about passion, right? Because most times people talk about passion. Passion does not pay the bills. Okay, yes, that you love to sing, you love to speak, does not make you, it won't pay the bills. So there are stages to this. Now, I have another question again, I'm going to ask again. I'll ask you, what makes you happy? What makes you happy? It's a question again I ask you. After a question, I'm going to ask you again, that if you are told to do one thing in the world, what is it? All these questions are structured in such a way to discover the other parts of you that you might think is just fun, but they're all centered on one particular question to know who you are. I can also ask you, if you are given $1 billion, what will you do with it? Again, that question is to know what makes you happy? Will you spend your time on charity, to help the poor, to go into politics, to travel? It's a question that makes you feel relaxed. So the self-discovery part makes you to open your eyes to something else that you don't really know. So I don't like people tell you this is who you are. No, I will guide you in the process and tell you, I think based on what you've answered, this is that. And you try it. And most times people who are very good in whatever they do have mistakes, they do have trials, even though they have expertise in it. It's not a one size fits all. You have to be honed over and over again before you can come out as a masterpiece.
Okay. And as an African man, I believe that you have a lot of Africans that you also guide through the process. What has been the biggest challenge within the African community, especially with the African culture, that you've noticed as a life coach?
From my experience being a father, I'm from Nigeria, I'm from Africa, I think that part of self-discovery is literally lacking in our society.
Oh.
A lot of people come to the US, and I was also a victim of that. They rush into nursing because they feel nursing is kind of lucrative. And then they leave their parts of what they were in Nigeria or in Africa, in Gabon, in Mali, whatever they are. And then they jump into a new field of life. And I get it, the system is not structured in a way that can fit you if you're in Africa. It's kind of different. But what I tell people is this: even though you're going to jump into any profession just to pay that bill, still have at the back of your mind who you are. So even though you attain a particular height in your industry, consider going back to those things you know you can do very well, because most people are victims of what I call defective success, which means you are attaining success on a different ladder. For example, you were structured to be a medical doctor, but you went into pharmacy or you went into accounting. You became a director, you became the peak, but you don't have joy, you don't have fulfillment, you don't have happiness. So that's a victim of defective success. You've attained success on a different ladder. Now, if you have got to that peak, it would be nice you consider going into your areas of interest. Probably, if it's not too late for you, go back to pharmacy or to nursing or to any field of life. So, for instance, for me, tax law was great in America. As a matter of fact, when I was in New York Law School, New York Law School was number one in US. I mean, in New York City. We beat Columbia and NYU. In the US, we were number 3 nationally. And I was told I'm going to be a millionaire within a minute. And those potentials were there because New York is a center base in the country because of Wall Street. And tax law is very big. Mm-hmm. But guess what? I never liked it. And I didn't make it in that field. But when I went into my own area of niche, I made some money doing that area. I made some decent amount of money, but I was not successful and I was not happy. Mm-hmm. And you cannot be successful without being happy. Mm-hmm. They correlate together. So when I left that and I went into that space of human capacity development as a case manager, and to my current job right now where I work for the city, I began to get different awards. I was in UN, I was in Rwanda. I've been traveling, I've been giving speeches globally. Mm-hmm. Why? Because my work has been noticed.
Because you're on the path.
I'm on the path, on the right paths. Okay. Even when Trump did the travel ban, I was in the news. After I was interviewed by New York Times, I was in local news by News 12. They came to my house. I was on TV. I spoke about the travel ban of Trump. And they could speak for themselves that I know what I'm doing. And this is my part. Mm-hmm. So I left the area of life that I thought that would give me a lot of money to areas I know that I can give fulfillment. And I was able to apply my wisdom and my knowledge to it. So here's what I'm saying. Mentorship is truly lacking in the African communities. We need to have a system or a structure whereby those who immigrate to the US have a guiding part of people who can help them to figure out their path. And even though they want to go into any area of life, then there should be a proper understanding. Because you don't want to get to a stage in life whereby you might attain money, but you will not be happy. Mm-hmm. There was a research that was done by CDC, and it was corroborated by National Institute of Mental Health. They said suicide is one of the leading causes of death in America. Mm-hmm. And you have to ask yourself, why are people committing suicide? Mm-hmm. It starts from the family. Mm-hmm. There's no love in the family. Mm-hmm. You went to high school and college. You don't like your profession. You got a good job. You're making money, but you're not happy. Mm-hmm. People take their life. They have the money, but they're not happy. Mm-hmm. But if people are happy in their families, with their with their choice of study in college, and even their careers. I don't think anybody wants to take their life because you save money, you save life, right? So mentorship is really lacking in the system, and that is why we need to break in that same system of guidance in the African communities. I think it's something that needs to be done because it's truly lacking. Everybody is like the rat race, getting the money, paying the bills. But then do you look into yourself and ask yourself, is this who you are? Because all the problems in society has a solution. But you might be the one that have that solution, but you left your passion or your drive or whatever makes you happy to something else. And that thing is right there lacking. So that's why I said that if we can imbibe that spirit of mentorship and self-discovery in African community, I think it will go a longer way to solve some of the problems.
And I completely agree with everything that you've said. But what would be the way to implement more mentorship in different African communities? As you said, it's lacking. What can we do as Africans to implement them in all the different African communities?
I think it's not a major problem per se. It's not a major problem. For everyone who have succeeded in their field of life, you are an authority. Remember what I said earlier on, we have authoritative form of knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, when you've distinguished yourself in your space, and the younger ones want to speak or they want to thrive in that same industry, then the onus is on you to guide them on that path, and you will tell them the pros and the cons. I'll give you a clear case example. A couple of years back, I was invited to speak to elementary school students, and I remember asking to these young kids, who probably they were in ninth grade, between 7th and 9th grade, and I was asking them, what do you want to be in the future? And one said he wants to run. I was like, why? He said, yes, but I love to run. And the teacher was surprised because this child has never experienced such enthusiasm like that before. And even the counselor was shocked. And then that hit right there, that hit me that something is really lacking because what the teacher is saying is different from what the counselor is saying. And what their parent is saying is different from what the student is saying. And me, who is the mentor who's speaking to them at that particular day, I'm getting a different knowledge from them. So it's how you groom them that makes a whole lot of difference. So now, if those who are in the medical field, those who are in the legal field, those who are in the finance field, they truly understand their part and they know that this is who they are, this is what made them unique in that field. They didn't do it just for the money. They did it for a lot of variable reasons. Because at the end of the day, success has its own components, right? So if people who have distinguished themselves in their career are bold enough to share their challenges and their experiences, I think it will be a game changer in the African communities. But it's quite unfortunate that sometimes we have square pegs in round holes. So people who have this knowledge are not owning it up. So it's something we need to know and bring on board those who have developed expertise in their industries to come speak to people about their challenges and their experiences. And I'm going to end with an experience that I had a couple of months ago in my place of work. A medical doctor of 30 years in profession said to me, Mr. Ukazu, if I'm speaking to younger generations, I would advise them to go study medicine.
Medicine?
Yes, he said that to me. I said, why do you say that? He said, I've been in this profession for about 30 years. You can only succeed in it when you have the heart to serve communities, not for the money. I'm like, you make a lot. He said, yes, I make a lot, but I don't make much money on it, as people may think. He said to me, his younger brother is a president of a college, and he makes like $1 million in Texas. He's president of a college. His elder brother, which is a year older than him, is a chief financial officer, CFO, in AT&T, the first black man. Look him up. He makes $15 million every year.
Every year,
Every
15
year,
million.
$15 million. You see, he's the first African, the first black. I looked him up. That was great. This was happened a couple of months back. What that tells me is that it says, medicine is not for everyone. You must have the heart of service, like a community service. If you're looking into medicine for money, you'll be frustrated and you'll be depressed because you spend a lot of time in that industry. So these are the type of experiences that people don't own up to speak. So in African communities, when we have people who can come and tell you the challenges and the perks in the industry, I think it will put people on the spotlight to know what is obtainable because the world is revolving and your ability to reinvent can be the game changer. So when you begin a journey on a path, you think that it's rosy. Down the line, when you hit the rock, how do you navigate? How do you reinvent? How do you re-strategize? And how do you position yourself to meet into the contemporary times? So these are some of the hard conversations that um, that we need to have because sometimes what you say one is different from what's applicable in the real world. So it's a journey and it's a process.
Okay. And we have both of your books up here. We have Design Your Destiny and Unleash Your Destiny. So let's start with Design Your Destiny up here. Um, what made you write this book and how did you come into the conclusion of writing it? That's a nice picture up here.
Oh,
I think you
thank
were a
you.
little younger,
Yeah, I was a
no
bit
like
younger.
beard or anything.
Right.
What made you write this book and how did you come to the conclusion of writing a book? That was your first one, right?
Correct.
Okay. What made you write it?
So again, like I said earlier on, I'm very inspirational in nature. So on Facebook, one day I shared one of my articles with one of my mentors, and she said to me, "You're a smart young man. Have you thought about writing a book?" I said, "Yeah, but not really." She inspired me actually because I didn't know I could write a book. In all honesty.
Wow.
So, and I went to work. I didn't even know what to write. I just put out my laptop and I started writing about topics just casually friendly. And before you know, I started writing. I don't even know what I was writing. But one thing stood out for me, and that's why I said self-discovery is a lifelong process. So I started writing the book, and at a point in time, I was confused. I had to share with somebody. I don't know what I'm writing. I want to throw this thing up. He said, "No, just keep writing. It doesn't matter what it is." And from there, I started to pick up interest. So when I'm on social media, for example, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, or X, or YouTube, depending on the topical issue on ground, I see something that's related to what I'm writing. I just put the note right there, and I will develop it. And before I know, I have a complete manuscript. And not only as complete manuscript became one of my best work out there. So the inspiration, I would think, one comes from God, and then two was more of intuitive knowledge. And the rest, as I say, is history. The book bettered so many opportunities for me. It is like they call it the womb opener. You know, I've traveled globally to different countries, had opportunities, different ways to explore opportunities just because of the book. It was because of how successful the book was. A lot of people reached out to me when they follow up.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how the second book came up.
The
The
second
second
book,
book came up. It's a structure.
Unleash Your Destiny 50 Nuggets for Living a Purposeful and Impactful Life. Foreword by Kola Adesina, CEO Sahara Group by Henry Ukazu. We have it up here. That's the second book.
Correct.
So you say that the inspiration came through your travels, you say, or?
Yeah, so the inspiration came from my first book because
Okay.
the first book was very inspirational. A lot of people loved it. So they needed a follow up because they saw the first book as theoretical. And then the second one, I came from a research perspective. So it's more practically oriented. You know, so I had nuggets that if you want to unleash your potentials, these are the steps you're going to take. So the first one is design, architectural in nature. So when you've designed the work, then you have to implement it, and that is where Unleash comes in.
Okay.
And then I have stories of people who have this. They are real life stories of people globally that is tested and trusted.
So that's the blueprint,
Correct.
and that's the steps to how to achieve the blueprint and put it in practice.
Correct. Exactly.
Basically.
Right.
Okay, and where can people get your books if they would like to get them?
The books
Is it
are
on Amazon?
is it on Amazon,
or-
right?
Okay, guys. Henry Ukazu, I think. Yeah.
Correct.
And they can just say that. I mean, put it on Amazon and find it.
Correct.
All right. All right, Mr. Kazu, thank you so much for being my guest today. Thank you for answering all of our questions. I don't know if you have some words of motivation as a life coach to say to the audience. You can just look at that camera right here and just say whatever feels like, whatever you feel like saying.
All right, thank you. So what I'm going to say to you today is, if you look at yourself today and ask yourself one question, who am I? What will be your answer? When you discover that question, ask yourself again, what do I want to do with my life? When you answer that question again, finally ask yourself, are you on your right path to unleashing that potential you want to do in life? Because at the end of the day, we are responsible for the outcomes of our life. So today I'm going to charge you, go into the world. Not only will you discover who you are, but unleash your potential, because given every equal opportunity, everybody is a potential achiever, because we don't have dull brains, only brains undeveloped. So I tell you today, you have the seed of greatness in you. Thank you.
Chers amis téléspectateurs, merci beaucoup de nous avoir suivis et nous nous retrouverons au prochain numéro. Merci. Bye,
Thank you.
Henry.